Today on the Fuzzy Show, we're learning about the solids, liquids, and gases, as well as the phase changes like deposition, sublimation, melting, and more. So join Mr. Fuzzy, Momma Fuzzy, Woozle, and I for an adventure and learn about science on our chemistry edition of the Fuzzy Show. Good evening, everyone. Now it's time for another great episode of the Fuzzy Show. Why do you always have to do that? Do what? Steal my glory like that? Sorry. Anyway, for the next 15 minutes, my staff and I are going to indulge you in some information about solids, liquids, and gases. Honey, what does indulge mean? What? Oh, indulge means treat, spoil, make a fuss of, etc. I thought this was a science class. It is, but you asked to... Never mind. Anyway, we are here to indulge, treat you all to some information about solids, liquids, and gases. Thank you again. What? You always steal my glory. Can you just get over yourself? You're gonna make them look like I'm the boring one. The one that does everything so boring. That's not exciting because you get to do all the exciting stuff. You always have the punchlines and I always have not the punchlines. It's not fair. You're stealing my glory and that's I don't like that. Do you want to do the next video on solids, liquids, and gases? I was about to get to that. See, your video will be great and you'll win them over. Alright, this is my video on solids, liquids, and gases.
What are solids? Solids keep their shape. Solids do not flow. Solids cannot be compressed. Solids have molecules that are all together, no space between them. What are...
Stop the tape! What do you mean, stop the tape? It was so boring. I wanted to pick my eyes out with those paper clips. Well, that's disgusting. But I thought it was a great video. Yeah, 5 stars. Well, it's not like you could do better. Well, I could actually do better. Roll the tape. You made another tape? Well, I knew we would need a backup. I hate you.
These are the general properties of solids, liquids, and gases. Imagine the highway. Imagine the molecules in a solid as a traffic jam on the highway. It just stop and go. Sometimes it just stops, no movement. This is just like the molecules in a solid. Solids keep their shape. It doesn't move. Now let's talk about a liquid. Now see here, not that many cars on the highway. There is a lot of room to move around. That matches the amount of molecules in a liquid, enough room for the molecules to move. Liquids can only keep their shape in the container that they are in, but can change shape when put in another shaped container. Now let's talk about a gas. Now, there are only a few cars left on the highway. The molecules in a gas move around faster, too, than a liquid, and of course a solid. This is known as diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration in a given volume. And that's the properties of a solid, liquid, and gas.
But guess what? There's more. I think I speak for the entire science class when I say we don't want to watch another stupid video. Well, at least they're listening to this lesson. That's a first for them. Huh. Well, we have a Woozle connection. Woozle? No, Woozle's not here. Are you still jealous about Woozle? I'm just jealous that you dated him before me, that's all. It was a one-time thing. It didn't really work out, being that he's like 15 feet taller than me. Anyway, it's time for a Woozle connection on the properties of a gas, solid, and a liquid. Enjoy!
Hello, how are you? Good. My name is Woozle, and I'm outside looking for connections. Connections to what, you ask? Well, things that are a liquid, a solid, and a gas, on my own segment called Woozle Connections. These are rocks. We know that rocks are solids because solids don't move and keep their shape. We also know it's a solid because rocks cannot be compressed. Ah, the bay. The water is a liquid because we know the water moves, meaning its molecules aren't slammed together. It only keeps its shape in a container, like if you were to fill a cup with some of the bay water. But if you move the container, the liquid inside moves too. And we know that liquids can be compressed. Therefore, the bay is a great example of a liquid. Now on to a connection that has to do with gas. Look at this Volvo. We know that cars give off gas from the motor. Hey, where do you get prices like that? Anyway, there are tons of space between the molecules of a gas, which is one of the reasons gas is so light it can float. Gas can be compressed too. From Woozle Connections, it's Woozle saying, back to Woozle.
Next on to phase changes, and we now have a video submitted by Mrs. Fuzzy. Mrs. Fuzzy? You're Mrs. Fuzzy. Your mother. My mother. What? Where is she? She's not here, but she made a video for the phase changes for the kids. Oh, well, this will be interesting. Roll that
Mrs.
tape.
Fuzzy here, and we're about to do an experiment on the phase changes, starting with evaporation. I know, it's so cool. Anyway, I took this measuring cup and filled it with 2 cups of water, H2O. And I'm going to take this watering cup and put it into this wonderful container of 32 ounces. Then we're going to wait and wait, and sure enough, you will start to see it vaporize, which means evaporation occurs. Let's see what happens. I will now take this measuring cup and I'll put it into the container. Watch. Let's do zoom in. Zooming in. Oh, yes. Okay. Let's see. Now I'm taking the water, and I'm pouring it in. And it comes to about 12 ounces.
Now let's watch the container and see the water start to evaporate. Yep. It's evaporating. Yep. Any second now. Yeah. Okay, how about this? Let's see what happens over a few days. What happens to the water? Watch the container as a few days pass, and I'm sure we'll see some evaporation, so we don't have to sit here for 24 hours watching. That's a little boring, isn't it?
How does the water evaporate? Well, it's when the molecules in a liquid are heated, and those molecules divide until there's not a lot of molecules left, just like the composition of a gas. And you know what happens in the molecules of a gas? The gas starts to float away, just like the liquid. In the water, when the water started to disappear, that was because it turned into gas and it went away. It evaporated. Liquid went to gas. Now let's talk about freezing. This is when liquid goes to a solid. Here's the experiment.